My stepfather sold my childhood home while I was out of town. You don't need it anymore, he shrugged. My mom stayed silent. I just smiled, sent one email, and walked away. 72 hours later, he was calling me nonstop, practically begging. I honestly never thought I'd be telling this story, but here we are. This all went down last week, and I'm still processing. For some background, my dad passed away 5 years ago, leaving our family home to my mom and me jointly. It's nothing fancy, just a 3-bedroom ranch with a big basement where Dad had his woodworking workshop. That workshop was my childhood hangout, where I spent most weekends learning to build things with my hands. Mom remarried 3 years ago to Dante. He's always been obsessed with upgrading their lifestyle. Whatever. That means our house isn't in some ritzy area. It's a solid middle-class neighborhood where most folks have lived for decades. Mrs. Rodriguez next door has brought us tamales every Christmas since I was 10, and Mr. Chen across the street still uses Dad's old workbench we gave him. I've been paying half the property taxes and maintenance since Dad passed. It wasn't about the money. It was my way of honoring his memory. Weekends, I'd come over to fix things, work on projects in the workshop, or just hang out with Mom. My sister, Jasmine, would join sometimes when she wasn't swamped with college. Last week, I was on a work trip to Chicago. Nothing major, just some meetings. I was texting Mom daily, like usual, but her replies were shorter than normal. I figured she was just busy with her book club or something. I got back yesterday, pulled into the driveway, and saw a moving truck. My first thought was, Mom finally decluttering. Then I saw the sold sign in the front yard. Walking inside felt like stepping into an alternate universe. Strangers were in our living room measuring for curtains. Dante was showing them around like a budget HGTV host. Mom sat at the kitchen table staring into her coffee like it held all the answers. "Oh, hey," Dante said, like this was completely normal. "Didn't expect you back so soon. Just wrapping up with the buyers." I stood there, keys still in hand. "What buyers?" "We got a great offer." He shrugged, still playing realtor. "Market's hot right now. You don't need this place, right? You've got your own spot." My own spot is a 1-bedroom apartment because I've been saving to eventually buy out Mom's share of the house, something I'd mentioned multiple times. I looked at Mom. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "The workshop?" I started. "Already donated everything to Habitat for Humanity," Dante cut in. "They picked it up yesterday. Good cause, right?" That workshop held every tool my dad collected over 30 years. The workbench where he taught me to build my first birdhouse. The lathe he used for Mom's favorite rolling pin. All gone. I walked down to the basement. Empty. Just concrete floors and bare walls where pegboards used to hang. Dad's old radio still sat in the corner, covered in sawdust. They hadn't donated that yet, probably thought it was too old to be worth anything. I picked it up, tucked it under my arm, and walked back upstairs. Mom finally looked at me. "Seth, honey," she began. "It's fine," I said, and weirdly I meant it, because in that moment, everything became crystal clear. I smiled, actually smiled, and walked out. Grabbed my phone in the driveway and sent one email I'd been saving as a draft for months. Didn't even look back to see if they were watching. My sister called an hour later. "Tell me you're going to do something about this," she said. "Already done," I replied, plugging in Dad's old radio on my kitchen counter. "Just wait." Dante's been calling nonstop since this morning. I'm letting it go to voicemail. Each message sounds more desperate than the last. Mom texted, asking about the email. I haven't replied yet. They have no idea what they just said in motion. Updates to follow. Update 1. Thanks for all the support and advice. A lot has happened in the last 48 hours, so buckle up. Remember that email I sent? It was to our family lawyer. Not for legal action, just documentation. See, I've been keeping receipts, Every property tax payment, every maintenance bill, every repair cost for the last 5 years. But that's not all. The morning after my last post, I woke up to 12 missed calls from Dante and a bunch of texts from Mom saying, "We need to talk as a family." Sure, now they want to talk. I took my sweet time responding, had my coffee, and watched some YouTube videos about deck restoration. More on that later. Around noon, Dante showed up at my apartment unannounced. I watched him pacing outside through my Ring camera, running his hands through his hair like he always does when stressed. I let him stew for about 10 minutes before opening the door. "The sale can't go through," he blurted out before I could even say hello. "The title company called. They're saying there's some problem with the paperwork." I leaned against the doorframe. "Oh, cut the act," he snapped. "What did you do?" I pulled out my phone and showed him the property deed. Joint ownership, clear as day. His face went from red to white so fast it was almost funny. "You can't sell a house without all owners signing off," I said. "Basic real estate stuff. Aren't you supposed to know that?" He started yelling about how I was ruining everything, how he had plans, how the buyers were threatening to walk. I just kept scrolling through TikTok while he ranted. Finally, he stopped to catch his breath. "You done?" I asked. "Because we should probably discuss the workshop tools you donated without my permission. Those were mine too." That's when Mom called. Perfect timing. I put her on speaker. "Seth, please," she said. "Just come to dinner tonight. We can work this out." Dante jumped in. "Your mother's upset. Is that what you want?" "Actually," I said, "I think family dinner is a great idea. Jasmine should come too." 6 p.m.? Mom sounded relieved. Dante looked suspicious. "Good. I spent the afternoon setting up Dad's old radio in my kitchen, got it working perfectly. Still had that slight static on AM stations that Dad could never quite fix. Felt right having his presence there while I prepared for dinner. PM rolled around. I brought a bottle of the cheap wine Mom likes and Dad's old photo album. Jasmine was already there, sitting at the kitchen counter and texting furiously. She looked up when I walked in, trying not to smile. Dinner was Mom's meatloaf, her go-to, peace offering. The tension was thick enough to cut with the fancy serving knife Dante always brags about, the one Dad actually made, but whatever. We ate in silence for about 10 minutes before Dante cleared his throat. "Look," he started, using his reasonable voice, "we can figure out some kind of compensation for your share." I cut him off. "How's the real estate business lately, Dante?" He blinked. "What? Must be tough. Market's crazy right now, lots of competition." I took a bite of meatloaf. "Bet your commission from this sale would really help." His fork clattered against the plate. Mom froze mid-bite. Jasmine suddenly became very interested in her phone. "What are you talking about?" Dante's voice had an edge now. I pulled out a folder, started laying out papers on the table right next to the green beans. Property tax receipts, maintenance records, bank statements, 5 years of documentation showing I've been paying half the costs on this house. Plus some interesting emails from your broker about your recent performance issues. "You had no right," he started shouting. Indoor voice, Jasmine cut in, not looking up from her phone. "Neighbors might hear that." That shut him up. "The neighbors, right? The same neighbors who've known our family for decades. The same neighbors who've been calling him about the sale. The same neighbors who, well, that's for the next update." Mom finally spoke up. "Seth, what are you planning?" I stood up, grabbed my jacket. "You know what Dad always said about woodworking? Measure twice, cut once. I've been measuring for 5 years. Dante's phone buzzed. His face changed as he read the message. Then my phone buzzed, and Jasmine's and Mom's. "What did you do?" Dante whispered. "Check your email," I said, walking out. "The HOA board just called an emergency meeting. Update 2. The HOA emergency meeting was scheduled for 7 p.m. at the community center. I got there early, watching people file in through the glass doors. Dante showed up last, phone glued to his ear, looking like he hadn't slept. "Remember Mrs. Rodriguez? Who brings Christmas tamales? She's on the HOA board. So is Mr. Chen and Mr. Patterson, whose daughter I helped with her science fair project last year." Funny how connections work in small neighborhoods. Here's what Dante didn't know. Over the last 5 years, I'd been quietly buying up properties in our neighborhood through an LLC. Nothing fancy, just the rental houses that came up for sale. A duplex here, a small house there. Property values were low enough that I could handle it with some careful planning and my savings. By last count, I owned about 70% of the rental properties in the area. Guess who that makes the majority stakeholder in the HOA? The meeting started with Mrs. Rodriguez calling for order. Dante sat in the back, still trying to look important. Mom wasn't there. Jasmine had taken her out for coffee, away from the drama. Smart kid, my sister. "First agenda item," Mrs. Rodriguez announced, reading from her iPad. "The proposed sale of 1427 Oak Street." "That's our house." "Was our house, whatever." I stood up. "About that," I said, "I'd like to propose some changes to the HOA bylaws." Dante's head snapped up. "You can't!" Article 7, Section 3, I cut him off. "Any property sale must be approved by the board if it involves structural changes. The buyers mentioned renovations, right?" Mr. Chen nodded. "They want to add a second story. Plans would alter the neighborhood's historical character." "That's ridiculous," Dante jumped up, face red. "You can't block a sale over—" "Sit down," Mr. Patterson said quietly, "or we'll discuss your expired realtor's license next." Yeah, I'd found out about that too. Dante had let it lapse 3 months ago, too busy trying to make quick sales to handle the paperwork. He'd been operating without it since then. Not exactly legal. The color drained from his face. He sat, walked to the front of the room, pulled up the neighborhood map on the projector, and started pointing out properties. All the ones I'd acquired, all the improvements we'd made, the community garden we started last spring, the weekend workshops. We'd been running for local kids, the tool-sharing program that saved everyone money on home repairs. "This isn't just a neighborhood," I said. "It's a community one my dad helped build, and I'm not letting anyone tear that down." Mrs. Rodriguez was smiling. Mr. Chen was nodding. Even the newer residents looked interested. That's when my phone buzzed. Text from Jasmine. "Mom's ready to talk. She's crying, the good kind." I wrapped up the meeting quickly after that. The sale was officially blocked by the HOA board. Dante stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. As people were leaving, Mrs. Rodriguez grabbed my arm. "Your father would be proud," she said in Spanish. "He always said you were the smart one." I found Mom and Jasmine at the diner where Dad used to take us for Sunday breakfast. Mom's eyes were red, but she looked more alive than I'd seen her in years. I'm leaving him," she said before I could sit down. "Should have done it months ago." "Years ago," Jasmine corrected. Stirring her coffee, Mom reached across the table, grabbed my hand. "The workshop tools, I saved some. The important ones. They're in Mrs. Rodriguez's garage." I squeezed her hand. "I know. She told me last week." "Of course she did." Mom laughed, then started crying again. "I'm so sorry, Seth. I got lost somewhere along the way." "We'll find you again," I said. My phone was blowing up. Dante leaving angry voicemails, the buyer's agent demanding explanations, neighbors sending supportive messages. I turned it off. "So what happens now?" Jasmine asked. I looked around the diner. Same cracked leather booths, same flickering neon sign, same coffee that Dad said tasted like motor oil but drank anyway. Some things shouldn't change. "Now," I said, "we rebuild, starting with the workshop." Mom wiped her eyes. "The house. Can we still live there?" "Better." I pulled out my phone, showed them the LLC paperwork. "You're both shareholders now." 25%. Each! I keep 51% to maintain control of the HOA stuff. We can make decisions together, like Dad would have wanted. Jasmine's eyes widened. You made us part owners of everything? Family business? I shrugged. Had the paperwork ready for months. Just needed the right moment. That's when Dante burst into the diner, looking wild. You think you've won? I'll sue. You'll what? I stood up slowly. Explain to a judge how you tried to sell property you didn't fully own? Or how you've been working without a license? Or should we talk about the creative accounting in your last 3 deals? He deflated like a punctured balloon. Finally, I said quietly, get out of our neighborhood. You don't belong here. He left. Mom started laughing, a real laugh like when Dad used to tell his terrible jokes. Jasmine joined in. Soon we were all laughing, probably looking crazy to the other customers, but who cared? The diner owner brought over a slice of apple pie on the house. Your dad's favorite, he said. Final update. It's been 2 weeks since my last update. A lot has happened, and not all of it was pretty, but we're finally on the other side of this mess. First off, Dante didn't go quietly. The morning after the diner confrontation, he showed up at the house at 6 a.m. completely unhinged, started throwing Mom's garden gnomes at the windows. Real mature. Mr. Chen caught it all on his security camera and sent me the footage while I was driving over. I found Mom on the front porch, screaming right back at him. Jasmine was on the phone with the police. The whole neighborhood was out watching, some still in their pajamas, others recording everything on their phones. Mrs. Rodriguez's grandson was live streaming it on TikTok. You think you're so smart, Dante was yelling, waving around some papers. I found the loophole in your precious HOA bylaws. Article 12 says, nothing that helps you, I cut in, walking up the driveway. I wrote those bylaws revisions myself last year. There are no loopholes. He lunged at me. Actually lunged like some bad movie villain. I sidestepped, and he face-planted into Mom's prized hydrangeas. The crowd gasped. Someone laughed. I heard the distinct sound of TikTok comments rolling in. Get up, I said. You're embarrassing yourself. He scrambled up, dirt and petals in his hair. This isn't over. I've got friends in the city council. Had. Friends? Mom interrupted. I called Karen last night. You know, your golf buddy's wife. Told her everything. She was very interested in how you've been handling property sales lately. Dante's face went from red to gray. Karen's the city clerk. She handles all the property records, and she makes the best potato salad at the summer block party, which is probably why Dante forgot she existed when he was plotting against us. Face it, Jasmine chimed in. You lost. Now get off our property before the police show up, and this goes viral. Well, more viral. She pointed at the growing crowd of phone-wielding neighbors. That's when Dante made his final mistake. He rushed at Mom. He didn't get within 3 feet of her. Mr. Patterson, the former high school wrestling coach, had him in a hold before anyone could blink. Dante squealed like a stuck pig, dropping his papers everywhere. The police arrived to find our stepfather pinned to the ground by a 65-year-old man while the entire neighborhood filmed it. Not his proudest moment. They took him away in the squad car, but not before he started screaming about lawsuits and revenge through the car window while Mrs. Rodriguez's grandson provided running commentary on his live stream. After the excitement died down, the real work began. Mom filed for divorce that afternoon. The workshop tools came out of hiding. Turns out nearly everyone on the block had been storing pieces for us. Mr. Chen had Dad's lathe in his garage. The Pattersons kept the hand planes in their attic. Even old Mr. Wilson, who never leaves his house, had been guarding Dad's favorite workbench in his basement. We spent the weekend putting the workshop back together. The whole neighborhood helped. Kids were running extension cords. Teenagers were organizing tools. Adults were installing new shelving. Someone ordered pizza. Mrs. Rodriguez brought tamales. Mr. Chen's wife made her famous dumplings. Your dad would have loved this, Mom said, watching everyone work. She was smiling, really smiling, for the first time in years. He always said, a home is only as strong as its foundation. Speaking of foundation, Jasmine called from the basement stairs, we found something behind the old water heater. Tucked into the wall was a time capsule. Dad's handwriting on the lid. For when you need it most. Inside was his old project notebook, filled with sketches and plans, notes about the house, the neighborhood, the people, and a letter, dated just before he passed. To my family, a house is more than walls and a roof. It's the stories we build. Together, the memories we share, the community we create. Take care of each other. Take care of our neighbors. And never let anyone tell you what your home is worth. Love, Dad. P.S. Seth. Check behind the workbench. Left you something special. Behind the workbench was a hidden compartment containing Dad's prized antique handsaw and a stack of property deeds. He'd been buying up neighborhood properties too, long before I started. Like father, like son. We're turning the front room into a community workshop space. Free classes for neighborhood kids start next month. Jasmine's moving in to help run them. Mom's planting a garden that wraps around the whole house. Says she needs a project to keep her busy during the divorce. Dante? Last we heard, he's staying at a motel outside town. His real estate buddies won't touch him now. Turns out reputation really does matter in small communities. The viral videos probably didn't help either. The house isn't just ours anymore. It belongs to everyone who helped save it. That's what Dad would have wanted. Edit. Just got word that Dante is moving 3 states away. Guess he finally got the message. The workshop's first project? Building a new sign for the community garden. Dad would have appreciated the irony.